Hello everyone, it's Wes here, back with another video. So in this video, I want to talk about why you, yes, I'm talking to you, why you do not like your job and what you can do about it. Now you may be saying, Wezi, we have never had a conversation, we have never talked on why I don't like my job, and why are you saying I don't like my job? And why are you so confident in saying that? Now let me put it this way. I'm confident in whatever I'm saying because I have found myself in a scenario that I didn't like my job, right? And I did some actions. Now, maybe they were not good actions. Maybe that's why I'm doing this video, so that you can learn from the mistakes that I did, and also maybe just to kind of like start a conversation. Sometimes people don't talk about these things. Now, let me be honest to say this is a little bit more sensitive, and maybe many people may not resonate with it that much. But I'm just trying to kind of like start or spark a conversation. So as I said, I found myself in such a scenario before. So let me just a quick story here. So I worked for an organization, but when I had worked there for only 2 months, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is a place for me. Now there were a lot of factors at play. The work itself, it had some other issues, and then the environment wasn't good for me. If it was back then, I'd say it wasn't good for my mental health or whatever. But I think it wasn't just good. Let me just put it like that, right? So in the fourth month, I resigned. Now, by the time that I had resigned, I hadn't yet gotten any other job elsewhere, but I resigned and then I went back home. Now, that should tell you how much I wanted to leave, because if I had to leave without securing any other job, yeah. So what I'll do in this video is I'll talk about some maybe 5 or 6 reasons why you do not like your job. Then after that, I'll talk about what you can do about it, right? So it'll be like two-sided. I'll talk about the reasons why I think you do not like your job, and then I'll talk about the things that you can do about it, or maybe what you shouldn't do, right? So let's start with the first batch to say these are the things why you do not like your job. Now, the first reason could be you think you are not compensated enough, right? So you think they don't pay you enough, in simple terms. You think the money that you get with your value in the market, you think it's below par, right? So you think it's below what you should be getting. Yeah. So when you look around from your counterparts in different organizations or companies, and then maybe you ask them how much they're receiving, they tell you how much they're receiving, then you're like, so I'm receiving half of what this guy is receiving, right? Like, okay, how can it be, right? So for that reason, that could be a reason why you don't like your job. Now, the job itself, maybe the work itself will just be okay, but for the reason or for the fact that you know that maybe they're not paying me enough, that could be a reason why you do not like your job. Yep. All right. So let's go to the next reason. The second reason why you do not like your job is because it's in line with the first reason, is because you feel like they are using you. You tell yourself, you know what? I think these guys, or I think this company is using me. Now, how you come to that conclusion mainly is because of maybe the pay that you get. You're like, you know what? I do a lot of work here, but then I'm not compensated enough, or I'm not um, paid enough. So I think these guys are just trying to use my skills, or these guys are just using me. Right now, I'm not running away from the fact that sometimes there's some exploitation, but that could be the reason why you do not like your job, because you think they are using you or they're exploiting you in to some extent. Now, as I said, there are different reasons, but maybe that could be one. Now, another one, the third one. Now you get to realize that these ones are kind of like related, is in line with the second one. To say you think you have high potential, or when you look at yourself, your skills, your abilities, competencies, and then you look at the job that you're doing, you're like, you know what, I can do much more than whatever I'm doing at the moment. Now you look at yourself as someone who has high potential in the market, right? And then you look at the job that you're doing, you'll be like, you know what, with the experience that I have, with this education that I have, the skills, I don't think I'm doing much, right? Or maybe you're being underused, as I said in this last point. So you're someone who has high potential, or you think you have high potential, and then you think your organization is not using you to your full capacity, right? So let's say you're 100% in terms of your capacity. Maybe the organization is only using 55 or 60. Now you're like, the remaining 40%, it's just going to waste, because I mean I can use this elsewhere, right? So that's the third reason why you do not like your job. Now the third reason would be this one: the work environment is toxic. Now there's different ways of defining a toxic environment, so I wouldn't just stick to one, but whatever toxic means to you, I'd say yes. Now there are different ways of defining toxic, so I wouldn't go in detail and say, okay, a toxic environment workplace has this and this. No. Now if you think the workplace is toxic, that could be a reason why you may say, you know what, I don't like working there, or I don't like my job mainly because the work environment is toxic. Now that's a reason enough. Now, as I said, for myself, I felt like the work environment in that organization was a little bit toxic. And let me be honest, I was one of the very few employees that resigned on paper and in a formal manner, or serving notice. Many people would go home on Friday, the next Monday they wouldn't come. They wouldn't pick up the call from the office. Then before you know it, maybe they'll just tell someone else, oh, you know what, I left, I'll never come back. So at least I was I was one of the persons that was given a dignified farewell party, if you will. So let me put it that way. So that tells you a lot that the work environment wasn't that really good, right? So now another reason why you may not like your job is because you feel stuck in your position in the organization. Now, what I mean by this is, you look at the hierarchy in your organization and you look at your position, there's no way up or there's no way sideways. You When you look at it, you'll be like, you know what, I may remain in this position maybe for the next 5 years, or maybe for the next 10 years, or maybe for the next 20 years, right? You don't see yourself progressing. Now, maybe the money may grow in terms of the salary, but then when you look at it, you're like, you know what, I think this would be my position as long as I'm working for this organization. So you feel stuck in that position. So that could be a reason why you do not like your job. Now, the last point on this one, which is point number 6, on why you may not like your job, is because simply you do not get along with many people at your workplace, right? Now, the worst of this is you not getting along with your manager or your supervisor. That's the worst part of everything, to be honest, because if you're reporting to someone and you don't get along with them, it becomes difficult, to be honest, to work in such an environment. It's a little bit tricky, guys. Let me be honest, it's a little bit tricky. I don't think I've ever found myself in such a situation, but I've seen people in such a situation where they were not getting along with the managers, and every conversation was a confrontation. If you get what I mean, it wasn't like proper conversation, right? So that is a tricky situation or position to find yourself in. So these are the 6 reasons why I think you do not like your job. So before I get on to what you can do, let me say this. If you have any other reasons that you may want to share, maybe why you left a certain organization, because maybe some people may not be open to share why they don't like their current job, because maybe, this is online, so someone may sit and be like, oh, so Wesley doesn't like this job because of ABCD, right? So if you feel like you can share something else on why people don't like the job, maybe it's not even to do with you, but maybe just in general, I would like to see in the comment section. Now that we have talked about the reasons why you do not like your job, I'm sure some of them maybe resonate much with yourself, maybe others don't. I want to talk about what you can do if you have found yourself in a position that you do not like your job. Now, let me quickly say this. The suggestions that I'm about to give you, they're not the end or be all. Don't just say, oh, Wesley said this, I'll just take it and run with it. No. You have to put a lot of factors into play when you're making a decision like the ones that I'll suggest, right? So don't just say, oh, Wesley said you should leave your job, then I'm leaving my job. Now, let me also say one thing. You see, I said I left my job after working there for 4 months, right? There was a reason why I left. I was still staying with my parents then. I think I was around 20, 21, 22. So I knew I would be able to leave and then I would still survive, right? So I know I'm saying this because one of the suggestions would be you should leave your job. But anyway, let me just even go straight into it to say what you can do. The first point is leave your job. Now, that sounds simple, like, oh, Wesley, do you think you can just leave your job? Now, let me put it this way. If possible, only leave your job if you have been able to find another job. Now, I'm not suggesting you just leave your job and then go stay home. No. Unless if it is maybe very dire circumstances, right? If it is a matter of life and death, then you can leave the job for safety, for you to remain alive. But then, if you can still survive while working there, to be honest, I would say only leave your job if you have been able to find another job, because it's not easy out there. If you're not working, it's not easy, right? So I only suggest to say leave if you have been able to find any other job. But now, one thing that I also want to say, when I'm talking about leaving, you should consider the things that you don't like about your current job. Is it the salary, right? Is it maybe you're not compensated enough in terms of the money, or maybe is it to do with you feel stuck, or maybe you feel like you're being used, or anything else, or any of the reasons. Make sure that in the next organization that you're going to, make sure that you shouldn't find yourself in the same scenario, because what will happen is you find yourself in a cycle that you leave for these reasons in this post, then within 2 or 3 months you're leaving another post. It will just become a cycle. So it shouldn't just become a cycle of you saying, oh, I left because I didn't like this, I left because I didn't like this. So that's the first point. Leave only if you have been able to find any other job. Now, the second point on what you can do is upgrade yourself. Now, by this, I mean get more education, get more certifications, get more papers if you can. Because sometimes you can stay in the same position for a long time, maybe because you haven't upgraded yourself in terms of your education or your skills. So the organization would be like, you know what, would rather we keep Wes in this position because I mean he hasn't yet maybe upgraded himself to get maybe a first degree, he hasn't yet upgraded himself to get a master's or whatever. Now, if you have worked for an organization maybe for over 2 or 3 years, you know the reasons why you may be stuck in the same position. One, it would be because maybe there is no way up, maybe you've reached the ceiling, cool. But sometimes it could be because maybe of your education or your qualifications or your certifications. Now, if you have been able to analyze and see to say, you know what, the main reason why I'm in this position is because I don't have such a certification or maybe such a paper. Make sure you get yourself that paper, right? Go back to school, whether you do weekend classes or you do night classes or whatever. Make sure you get back to school. So that's the second point. Now, the first one, I said leave if you have found another job. The second point, I'm saying upgrade yourself in terms of your education, your skills or certificates and everything. Now, the third point, which I believe many people don't do, is to negotiate for a higher pay. Now, the organizations, they do have their own grading systems in terms of salaries, right? Now, sometimes you think, should I go and say, you know what, the money that I receive in this position is not enough? Let me be honest. Sometimes it's tricky, but let me put it this way: if you have worked for an organization and you think you do more than what they pay you for, maybe try to have a chat with your manager. Just a chat to say, you know what, I think maybe I'd want a little more pay, and see what the manager says. Now, you have to find the right approach. Now, I did this before, but my request wasn't successful because I think I was doing it wrong. I did it in a wrong way. Let me put it this way: I'd worked for this organization for 3 months, I think, or 2 months, and then I went to my manager. I was like, you know what? I think I'm not paid enough. I think I've learned now. I don't think I'll do that. I think I'll put different factors into consideration. But then they said, "Oh, you think so? What would you want to get?" Now I had my request. I said, I'd like you to be paying me this much. I'd like such a benefit. I like such a benefit. Now everything that I requested didn't work, but at least I tried. You should also try, right? You should also give it a try. Now, another thing that I talked about, if you don't like your job, is to do with the environment, or maybe you're not getting along with people. Now, this one is tricky. If possible, if you hold any other grudges, now this is me talking about point number 4 on what you can do. If you hold any other grudges within your workspace or anything else like that, make sure you let go of that as soon as you can, because it doesn't make sense for you to be going to a place that you go almost Monday to Friday, but then you don't get along with people. Now, I'm not saying you can get along with everyone at your workplace, but if possible, just make sure you get along with people, right? So I think on what you can do, I'll come up with these 4 things. Now, make sure you leave the job if you have found another job, negotiate for better pay, upgrade yourself, but also try to get along with people by letting go of grudges or any other resentment that you may have for anyone else in the workplace, right? So, yeah, that's it, guys. I thought I'll just talk about the reasons why I think you do not like your job and what you can do about it. I hope you have found this video helpful, but I'd also like to learn from you. What are some of the things that you have done before, or that's maybe you've heard someone has done before, please put it down in the comment section. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.